Listen carefully. You're not here to coast through life, hoping something magical falls into place. You're here to build. You're here to become. And that only happens when you stop chasing distractions and start locking in on what truly matters. Here's the truth few people want to face. Hard work isn't optional. You don't stumble into greatness, you grind into it. Every person you admire didn't get there because of luck. They got there because they showed up. When it was hard, when it wasn't exciting, when no one noticed, and when quitting seemed easier. They kept going. They stayed focused. So let's talk about what's really holding you back. You're busy, but not intentional. You're putting in effort, but it's scattered. You're scrolling more than you're building, comparing more than committing. It's time to wake up. Ask yourself, what actually matters to me? What's the one thing that, if I gave it my full attention, would change everything? That's where your focus belongs. When you work hard but chase noise, you burn out. But when you work hard on what matters, on something that aligns with your values, you tap into a different kind of energy. You build discipline. You build clarity. You build momentum. And suddenly, you stop waiting for success to show up because you realize success doesn't show up. It follows. It follows your effort. It follows your priorities. It follows your focus. You don't need another plan. You don't need another motivational quote. You need to decide. Decide what matters and then go all in. Focus like your life depends on it, because it does. You don't get a second shot at today. You don't get to rewind this moment. So use it. Build something with it. Earn your own respect. Every day is a chance to separate yourself, not by talent, but by effort, by discipline, by commitment. Silence the noise. Cut the excuses. And do the work. You want success? Stop chasing it. Focus on what matters and make success chase you. Hard work is the foundation of every meaningful achievement. It's not glamorous. It's not always fun. And it's certainly not easy. But it is necessary. There are no shortcuts, no hacks, no secret formulas. Just consistent, focused effort over time. People love to believe success is a result of a lucky break or some magical moment. But if you look deeper, you'll always find the same thing at the core: relentless hard work. There's a big difference between being busy and working with purpose. Anyone can fill a calendar. Anyone can look productive. But real momentum, real results, they come from pushing past your comfort zone, day after day, in pursuit of what truly matters. Hard work isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's showing up early when no one's watching. It's staying late when you could leave. It's pressing forward when your body says stop and your mind says quit. And here's the part most people get wrong. They think they need to feel motivated to work hard. That's a lie. If you only show up when it feels good, you'll never get anywhere that matters. The most powerful work you'll ever do comes when you're tired, uncertain, discouraged, or afraid. But you do it anyway. That's what sets achievers apart from dreamers. They understand. Hard work isn't a phase. It's a lifestyle. Every time you choose effort over ease, every time you pursue growth instead of comfort, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. You build character. You develop resilience. And most importantly, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. That self-trust, that's your edge. That's your foundation. You can't skip the process. You can't leapfrog the grind. You earn it inch by inch, day by day. Progress isn't found in flashes of inspiration. It's built in the discipline of showing up daily, in learning, failing, adjusting, and repeating. That's how your skills grow. That's how your mindset sharpens. That's where your edge is formed. Not in moments of glory, but in the thousands of quiet, unseen repetitions. In the long hours of preparation. In the sacrifices made in silence. People often ask, what's the secret to success? And the answer is simple, almost too simple for most to accept. Hard work. Not just working harder than others, but outworking your past self. Holding yourself to a higher standard. Pushing for better when good would be enough for most. That level of effort doesn't guarantee instant results, but it builds a foundation strong enough to withstand pressure. When opportunity knocks, you're ready. When challenges come, you don't crumble. Because hard work, when focused and sustained, becomes your greatest asset. It gives you confidence because you know you've done the work. It gives you options because you've built the skills and resilience others haven't. And most importantly, it gives you freedom, the kind you earn, not the kind you're handed. Yes, hard work is the foundation. It's not glamorous, but it's always powerful. It's not easy, but it's always worth it. And when you commit to it fully, everything begins to shift. Results come after the work, always after the work. Clarity is one of the most underrated drivers of success. People stay busy, rushing from task to task, goal to goal, believing that activity equals progress. But doing more doesn't mean achieving more. Productivity without clarity is just motion without direction. And without direction, you'll eventually burn out, wondering why all that effort hasn't taken you where you wanted to go. Most people don't fail because they're not trying. They fail because they're focused on the wrong things. They're reactive, chasing distractions, putting out fires, saying yes to everything. In a world overflowing with noise, anyone can stay busy. What's rare is staying focused. Clarity is what cuts through the noise. It means asking yourself, what truly matters right now? And having the courage to ignore everything else. When you're clear on your priorities, everything changes. You stop saying yes to things that don't move you forward. You stop chasing productivity for the sake of it. You begin to operate with purpose, and that's when your hard work becomes powerful. Aligned effort becomes fuel for real progress. Clarity narrows your focus. It strips away the distractions. Instead of chasing a dozen good ideas, you focus on the few great ones. It doesn't mean you abandon your responsibilities. It means you structure your life around your highest values. You become intentional with your time, your energy, your attention. And clarity isn't just about the big picture. It's about right now. It's about aligning your daily habits with your long-term goals. It's about designing your day to reflect your future. Success doesn't show up by accident. You create it through systems where your focus is protected, your energy is directed, and your time is invested in what matters. One of the hardest things you'll ever learn is to ignore the good so you can focus on the great. Not every opportunity deserves your time. Not every idea is worth your attention. And not every distraction looks like a distraction. Sometimes it disguises itself as something productive, but it pulls you off course. That's why clarity matters. It's your filter. It forces you to pause and ask, is this helping me move forward? Or is it just keeping me busy? When you gain clarity, you gain peace. Less mental clutter, less second-guessing, less chasing validation or comparing paths. You stop looking sideways and start owning your lane. And that's where confidence begins, not from noise or hype, but from alignment. Clarity doesn't just make you more productive. It makes you more powerful. Because when you know exactly what you want and align your effort with that vision, you become unstoppable. You don't waste time. You don't drift. You build with focus, with intention every single day. And let's be real, none of this works without discipline. Because motivation fades. It's a spark, not a fuel source. Some days you'll feel inspired. Most days you won't. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is doing the work when you don't feel like it. It's honoring the promises you made to yourself, long after the emotion you made them in is gone. It's showing up without needing permission from your feelings. That's where consistency lives. Not in grand gestures, but in the daily choice to stay committed. Waking up early, practicing your craft, saying no to distractions because you've already said yes to a bigger goal. Discipline builds trust in yourself. And that trust becomes your backbone when things get hard. You won't always feel lit up. Some days will feel flat. Some days you'll question if it's even working. But that's when discipline makes the difference. Because if you rely on motivation, you'll always need a reason to act. But when you rely on discipline, you act anyway. Most people underestimate how powerful it is to be reliable for yourself. When you say you'll do something and you follow through repeatedly, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to believe in your own word. And that belief changes how you show up in the world. Confidence isn't built from hype. It's built from kept promises. And yes, discipline is uncomfortable. It asks for structure when you feel like drifting. It demands effort when comfort is an option. But that's where growth lives. Not in ease, but in the repetition, the resistance, and the refusal to back down from your own goals. The people who win, they're not the ones who feel good every day. They're the ones who act in alignment with their purpose, regardless of how they feel. That's the edge. That's the advantage. It's not about waiting for the right moment. It's about choosing the right action over and over again. Discipline isn't loud. It doesn't shout or demand attention. But over time, it reshapes you until consistency becomes second nature. You don't build discipline by waiting for the perfect moment. You build it in the ordinary, when no one's watching, when motivation is nowhere to be found, when showing up is the harder choice. That's what transforms effort into excellence. It's the invisible force behind real progress. The line that separates those who dream from those who do. So stop chasing motivation. Build discipline. Because when action no longer depends on how you feel, you become consistent. And when you're consistent, you become unstoppable. Success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by who you become. It's not a finish line. It's a byproduct of how you live, how you think, how you show up every single day. The moment you make success the only goal, you start losing sight of what actually builds it. You start measuring yourself against moving targets. And that's when you feel like you're always behind, always not enough. But when you shift your focus to doing the right things for the right reasons, success stops being a desperate pursuit. It becomes a natural result. Chasing success as a destination is like running toward a mirage. It always looks close, then it moves again. It fades, and so does your satisfaction. When your definition of success is borrowed from others, titles, money, recognition, you're never truly in control. Real success starts from the inside out. It's built on values, on discipline, on growth, on the quality of what you're building, not just the visibility of it. You lay a solid foundation by committing to meaningful work, by showing up with integrity, with honest effort, and with purpose. That's where real success is born. Not in chasing outcomes, but in mastering the process. Not by asking, how fast can I win? But by asking, am I building something that lasts? Anyone can post a highlight. Anyone can score a quick win. But building something meaningful? That takes depth, patience, consistency. It requires you to stop measuring your worth by external results and start measuring it by your input. Did you grow today? Did you give your best? Did you live in alignment with your values? That's what builds confidence. That's what makes your life fulfilling, not just impressive. Ironically, the moment you stop obsessing over success and start investing in what actually matters, your craft, your health, your relationships, your vision, success starts showing up. It follows those who stop waiting for it and start working with intention. It finds the ones who stay consistent when there's no applause, no spotlight, no external reward. Because that's where character is forged. In the quiet, in the repetition, in the process. You have to fall in love with that process, with the daily work, the practice, the small steps repeated with care. That's where mastery lives. That's where transformation begins. And when your joy is rooted in the work itself, not just the result, success stops being a finish line. It becomes the side effect of a well-lived life. If your only goal is to succeed, you'll always feel like you're behind. But if your goal is to live with intention, to grow, to give, to stay aligned, then you're already winning. Every step gains meaning. Every day becomes progress. And that kind of fulfillment, no paycheck or title can replicate it. So stop asking, how can I be successful? Start asking, what's worth giving my life to? Because when your energy is directed toward what truly matters, and you give it your heart, your consistency, and your best, success stops being a question. It becomes a consequence. In a world built to distract you, focus is your greatest edge. In a world designed to pull your attention in every direction, the ones who rise above aren't always the most talented or the most intelligent. They're simply the most focused. They've learned to shut out the noise and lock in on what truly matters. When you master your focus, you tap into a level of power that most people never access. Because every day you're given a limited amount of mental bandwidth. And every moment you spend scrolling, comparing, gossiping, or overthinking, you're draining that energy. Energy that could be invested in your goals, your growth, your purpose. Most people never even realize it. They wonder why they feel tired, anxious, or unmotivated. But their mind is constantly scattered in 1,000 directions. Focus isn't just a productivity hack. It's a survival skill in the modern world. True focus means making decisions. It means saying no just as much as it means saying yes. You can't chase every opportunity. You can't please everyone. You have to protect your time and attention like they're your most valuable resources. Because they are. Every single day, how you spend your attention determines the future you create. When you understand that, you stop giving it away so freely. The key is clarity. What are you building? What are you committed to? What's the one goal that, if achieved, would elevate every area of your life? When you get clear on that, the world starts to look different. Everything becomes a filter. Does this move me closer or pull me further away? That's the power of focus. It gives you clarity. It gives you control. And with control comes freedom. The freedom to pursue excellence without constantly being pulled off course. Don't confuse being busy with being focused. They're not the same. You can be busy all day and still get nothing meaningful done. You can move fast and still go nowhere. Focus isn't about speed. It's about depth. It's about doing fewer things, but doing them with more intention. It's about going all in on what matters now. That's how real progress is made. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters better. And here's the truth. Focus is a skill. You're not born with it. You build it. Through discipline. Through boundaries. Through repetition. It means turning off distractions. Prioritizing the essential. And staying committed, even when your mind starts to drift. The more you practice, the sharper it gets. And eventually, it becomes your edge. In business, in sport, in art, in life, the people who rise are the ones who can concentrate. Not because they work more hours, but because their work is deeper, more intentional, less scattered, and focused work always wins. When you learn to protect your focus, you stop reacting to life, and you start leading it. You stop waiting for opportunities, and start creating them. You stop chasing outcomes, and start building them through consistent, deliberate effort. That's the power of focus. It's not just about checking boxes. It's about aligning your time, your energy, and your actions with what truly matters. Success isn't a mystery. It's not something you stumble upon by accident. It comes from clarity, comes from effort, comes from consistency, and it comes from the kind of focus most people never commit to. Discipline becomes your fuel, focus becomes your edge, and purpose becomes your compass. When you stop chasing success and start living with intention, success stops being a destination and becomes a natural result. So don't wait for motivation. Don't get lost in distractions. Do the work. Focus on what matters. And trust this, if you keep showing up, if you keep aligning your actions with your values, if you keep pressing forward with clarity and purpose, success won't be something you hope for. It will be something you build, and it will have no choice but to follow.